Ghana to deploy rapid reaction forces throughout the country to deal with any act of terrorism.
Millennium Development Authority to appoint a new concessionaire to manage and operate electricity company of Ghana.
And over 200 people killed by armed men from South Sudan in a cross-border raid into Ethiopia.
Hello, good evening. We welcome to News Hour live on GBC24 and GTV. My name is Suyoko Kwakutre.
And my name is Akbene Avo Ajaja. Thanks so much for joining us for News Hour. A look at the stories now in detail. Ghana is to deploy a rapid reaction force across the country as part of measures to deal with any act of terrorism should it become necessary. The deployment comes in the wake of terrorist attacks in Burkina Faso and Ivory Coast, two countries that share border with Ghana. The heightened security follows intelligence reports that indicate that all countries in the region are potential terrorist targets. The government has also directed that more searches be conducted at car parks and entry points to public places that attract large gatherings. President John Mahama disclosed these latest security arrangements on Monday in a meeting with the Council of States at the Flagstaff House in Accra. Napoleon Atokito has the story.
The periodic meetings between the President and the Council of State usually examine burning issues confronting the nation.
News of government settling a substantial part of its debt owed to the Electricity Company of Ghana is refreshing and a strong indication of a firm commitment to building a robust power sector capable of exporting surplus power to our neighboring countries. Your Excellency, Council, however, wishes to caution against any form of complacency, since experience has taught us that the power sector can be highly unpredictable.
Security was high on the agenda. The median of all the views expressed on terrorism is the acceptance that the phenomenon could occur anywhere.
One of the prices we have to pay for the security and alertness is some restrictions in our own personal liberties. I mean, Ghana has been a very free country. We are free to drive in and out and walk into public places anyhow. But increasingly, we'll find that when we go into public places, we'll be required to be searched, our cars will be searched, or we have to put our items through a scanning machine or something. And we must all understand that the times we live in have changed. And so we must sacrifice, some of our personal freedoms that we had in order that we ensure safety of all our people.
The President spoke about the deportation of the South Africans who were in Ghana, ostensibly to offer security training to political elements without clearance from the relevant authority.
If we have any special needs as political leaders in respect of our security, the right authority to discuss it with is with the Inspector General of Police. And if there's any need for special training, the police will be aware of it, the security authorities will be aware of it. But if everybody who felt threatened were to go and bring his own trainers to come and train security people all over the country, what kind of country would we be building? So every political leader who feels he's under threat will go bring, Russians and South Africans and Cubans and Americans and everybody to come and train his own security detail. It doesn't make any sense. All of us have been in that position before. I was in the opposition, and I relied on the public security.
The process towards the November 7th elections was also discussed.
There will be the exhibition exercise. And at the exhibition exercise, political parties are able to check the register, even ward by ward, because I believe that in every ward, in the ward where I vote, my party chairman would know who has died and should not be on the register, and who has turned 18 and above and can register. And so if we take that exhibition of the register seriously and help the Electoral Commission to remove persons who have died or persons who are not eligible, then we should be able to get a register that is clean and credible to be able to run a proper election.
Both sides of the table agreed that energy consumers must hasten slowly to jubilate over the modest success chalked up in the power sector, since there are no reserves to stabilize shortages in any of the generation points. The president said the current utility prices reflect massive injection of thermal generation in the power mix, adding that the more thermal and less hydro means higher cost for power generation, hence the current level of tariffs.
The reason why the tariffs have gone up is that hydro is the cheapest. Hydro is about 4 cents per kilowatt hour. If you use heavy fuel and gas, then you're talking about between 12 and 16 cents per kilowatt hour. And so the more hydro we pump into the energy mix, the cheaper our tariff will become. The less hydro and the more thermal, the more expensive our tariff becomes. And the point is, if you do not charge a realistic tariff, then the utilities are not able to raise the money to buy the fuel and pay for the gas that is necessary to generate the power.
On the economy, President Mohammed's forecast refers to projections by the IMF, the Economic Intelligence Unit, and Fitch, an international rating agency in which Ghana's medium-term prospects are said to be bright. He said inflation will drop from 13 to 12% by the end of this year and eventually go down to a single digit in 2017. He said Ghana cannot deviate from the IMF program, which prescribes fiscal discipline to stabilize the macroeconomic environment. Napoleon Atukito reporting.
The Electoral Commission has, with support from USAID, organized a workshop for media practitioners at Wa in the Upper West region. The training focused mainly on election reportage and highlights of CI91. The Upper East Regional Director of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Bosco Azu Anyure, said it is incumbent upon the media to help maintain the country's enviable status as the beacon of democracy in the region through fair and balanced reporting.
The participants were taken through topics such as media and elections, the role of the media in elections, media accreditation and election monitoring and observation. The Upper West Regional Director of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Bosco Azu Anyigere, said the media owe it a duty to inform, educate and entertain based on facts. He advised journalists to do well to cross-check facts with the election management body to ensure accuracy. The commission member in charge of the Upper West region, Hajia Sadia Sahadatu Maiga, said continuous questioning of the credibility of the current voters register is compelling the commission to undertake a validation of the register as part of the exhibition exercise. She said this would afford the electorate opportunity to affirm their registration details and also to serve as an opportunity for the voters to help identify and expunge names of people who are not supposed to be on the register.
As to who is the winner or which party is winning or has won is the prerogative of the Electoral Commission and not the media.
The programs manager of GBC's regional FM station, Radio Upper West, Mr. Simon Tai, who was also a participant, spoke about the relevance of the training program.
When the exhibition comes, you should come out and identify the people that are there. Electoral Commission, they don't know the people that are dead and the people that are not around.
The Police Wives Association, POLWA, has resolved to assist to preserve national peace before, during and after this year's general elections. The national president of POLWA and the wife of the IGP, Reverend Mrs. Charity Kudalo, gave the assurance when the national executives of the association joined the Ashanti Regional Branch of the Police Wife Association to embark on a peace march in the run-up to the November polls.
Members of the Ashanti Regional Police Wives Association were joined by the wives of personnel from other sister security agencies in the region to embark on the maiden edition of a peace march by the association to show their solidarity to the Ghana Police Service in its efforts to maintain peace, order and security in the country. The march went through the central business district of Edum, Kejetia, Central Market Area, Fanti New Town, Asafo and ended at the Regional Police Command. Members of the association carried placards, some to which read, "Party colors should not destroy us. No peace, no Ghana. And together we can build a better Ghana." History has pointed out that countries have been plunged into wars that could have been avoided, but for the fact that those who could have prevented such wars failed to do so or underestimated the imminent danger. The peace march ended at the Ashanti Regional Police Command, where the women were reminded that as wives of peacekeepers, they should continue to support their husbands to work by, among other things, adding their voice to calls for peaceful coexistence. The Regional Police Commander, DCOP Nathan Kofi Boachi, urged the media to continue with their sacred duty of disseminating the truth and refraining from things that have the tendency to plunge the country into political turmoil.
In election year, there are a lot of problems. Just to mention a few, from now on, we'll be having a lot of rumors, a lot of speculations, a lot of unfounded allegations, and a lot of scaremongering. It's incumbent on our brothers, the journalists, to separate the wheat from the chaff and let us have the peace that we all desire.
The national president of POWA and wife of the Inspector General of Police, Reverend Mrs. Charity Kudalo, explained the rationale for the peace march.
Should there be any political disturbances in Ghana now, what will be the future of the great nation of Africa? What will be the fate of the vulnerable women, children, the elderly, and the physically challenged? Will we be heading to these countries surrounding us, which have known no peace? Certainly not. This is why it is imperative for us to protect our country from any form of violence or chaos.
The Global Alliance for Clean Cook Stoves has launched a campaign on the use of improved cook stoves that do not emit smoke and are environmentally friendly. The organization, in partnership with the government, plans to distribute about 5 million improved cook stoves to 4 million people across the country by 2020.
The Global Alliance for Clean Cook Stoves says over 13,000 deaths occur in Ghana each year as a result of exposure to household air pollution. 50% of these deaths are among children. To reduce emissions and increase efficiency, the Global Alliance for Clean Cook Stoves seeks to improve locally produced stoves that are environmentally friendly. The types of improved food stoves available are the Japa, the EnviroFit, the Toyola Household Energy, the Cook Clean, and the Kike Green Cook. These different samples of cook stoves have been designed to reduce the amount of smoke emitted when cooking, leaves the kitchens clean, and keeps food hot for a long time. The Japa, EnviroFit, and the Cook Clean use charcoal and wood, but the Kike Green Cook stoves uses the Kike biofuel gels. The Toyola Household Energy stoves also uses pellets derived from sawdust residues. The Administrative and Program Officer of the Ghana Alliance for Cook Clean Stoves and Fuel, Raymond Kusogbo, says considering the harmful effects of climate change on greenhouse effect, it is necessary for households to switch to the use of improved cook stoves.
We realize that the traditional approach of cooking is open fire, which doesn't support thermal combustion. It wastes a lot of energy and it has negative health repercussions on the end user.
The Clean Fuel campaign, which covers a period of 3 months, will include educational campaigns in the media as well as the markets. 3 steering committees have also been constituted in the Volta, Ashanti and Greater Accra regions.
The Minister for Education, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, says measures instituted by the new management of the National Service Scheme prevented about 35,000 ghost names from entering the payroll of the service in the 2014-2015 service year. Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman made the observation when the ministry handed over 18 new vehicles to the National Service Secretariat.
The National Service Secretariat is one of the agencies under the Ministry of Education. Of the 18 new vehicles delivered by the ministry to the Secretariat, 16 are Toyota Hilux pickup, 1 Land Cruiser and 1 Toyota Camry. The acting executive director of the National Service Scheme, Dr. Michael Kwesa-White, said the vehicles will enhance operations at the Secretariat.
They are all expected to be used solely for activities of the scheme, monitoring, participation of service personnel across the country, and also running the administration of the scheme, both here and elsewhere in the region.
The Minister for Education, Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, explained how the vehicles will be distributed.
We have 10 regions, I think 4 had them, 6 never had them. So really we always prioritize those that have been left behind for one reason or the other. Some of the vehicles will also be left at the center, so the center will become more mobile, move out and see what is going on.
You're watching News Hour Live on your news channel GBC24 and GTV.
Business is next.
Hello, good evening and welcome from our studios here in Accra. We bring you the business segment of the news. I am Dorothy Ajimai. The Millennium Development Authority is expected to appoint a new concessionaire to manage and operate the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, by 9th November 2016. This will pave the way for private sector participation in the management and operations of electricity distribution in the country. Launching the first roadshow for private sector participation in the ECG, the Deputy Minister for Power, Mr. John Jinapo, said the government will set strict standards and rules for any private sector company that wins the bid to manage and operate the Electricity Company of Ghana. The decision to allow for private sector participation in the operations of the Electricity Company of Ghana forms part of the Ghana Power Compact between the Government of Ghana and the Millennium Challenge Corporation. The private sector participation is expected to help transform ECG in terms of technology and efficiency in power distribution to be more robust to meet the current and future needs of Ghanaians. Managers of the economy are of the view that an experienced partner will invest the needed funds in ECG and bring on board the technical skills that will enable the company to meet the growing demand for energy and also unlock the potential in other parts of the power system, including power generation. As part of the processes to select the concessionaire to manage ECG, the Millennium Development Authority has launched a roadshow to meet investors and introduce them to the potentials of the ECG and what is required of them. The investors are expected to submit their tender documents by next month for the selection process to begin. The chief executive of the Millennium Development Authority, Oura Safo, outlined the requirement criteria for the concessionaire.
An acceptable PSP provider must have the relevant technical experience and a proven track record of helping electricity distribution companies of similar size and scope as ECG to become profitable. The provider selected must have adequate financial capacity as evidenced by the ability to satisfy the minimum equity threshold and tangible net worth requirements as set forth in the various tender documents.
The managing director of the ECG, Mr. Robert Jamina, said ECG needs substantial investment for the concessionaire to enable them meet the growing demand for power.
Currently, ECG requires not less than $200 million per year for investment in this network. And therefore, as you take the form, as you think about your participation, you should also think about the size of ECG.
The Deputy Minister for Power, John Jinapo, indicated that the government will set rules and regulations to ensure that the customer gets value for money.
We expect the selected concessionaire to manage the ECG business, operate the business, and invest in the business over the term of the concession. We do not want you to take over ECG and just run the assets over the period and eventually hand it over. What we want you to do is to invest in that company, improve on the performance of the company, so that the people of Ghana would see wisdom in our decision in deciding to adopt the option of a concession.
The Electricity Company of Ghana is the largest power distributor in sub-Saharan Africa, with 3 million registered customers and over 6,000 gigawatts per hour of electricity sold per annum. Inviting private sector participation in Ghana's power distribution sector has been on the agenda of successive governments from 1990, but according to the Millennium Development Authority, if the process goes as planned, a new partner will be selected by November 2016. This will see an official takeoff from 2017. The Mamponhene Dasibri Osebunsu has called on banks to mop up excess liquidity from the system as a measure to control inflation and boost investor confidence in the economy. The traditional ruler also entreated commercial banks to introduce measures that would check the level of loan default, which threatens their progress. Dasibri Osebunsu was the guest of honor at the official opening of the Mampong branch of the National Investment Bank at Asante Mampong.
The National Investment Bank is one of the few banks in Ghana that have at least a branch in every administrative region of the country. The Mampong branch brings to 5 the number of NIB branches in the Ashanti region after Kumasi Central, Kumasi Main, Asokwa and Obuasi branches. The Mamponhene Dasibri Osebunsu cut the tape to officially open the Asante Mampong branch, christened the 49th branch of the National Investment Bank. The bank has made significant progress since its inception about 53 years ago. Between the end of December 2013 and 2014, the bank's deposits increased from 752.2 million Ghana cedis to 1,343.8 million Ghana cedis, while loans and advances rose from 515.6 million Ghana cedis to 769.5 million Ghana cedis. Profits after tax increased from 38.5 million Ghana cedis to 79.3 million Ghana cedis. Throughout the period, the National Investment Bank maintained a positive capital adequacy ratio far above the required minimum of 10%. Speaking at the inauguration, the Chief Executive and Managing Mr. Ernest Agbesi said the primary focus of the bank has been the financing and nurturing of local industries.
We were established primarily to support the industrialization of Ghana 53 years ago. And I believe, as a bank, we have lived by that mandate. And that's what NIB is doing now.
The Mampong Municipal Chief Executive, Mr. Mohammed Abuesu, encouraged its management to devise new and interesting products to encourage people to transact business with the bank and mop up excess liquidity in the system. The NIB Board Chairman, Dr. John Gachi, said the bank aims at supporting indigenous businesses to contribute fully to the growth and development of the country.
We have developed products to support your businesses and household financial needs. As a board, we have mapped out very clear strategies to sustain the gains inherent in the new branches and the overall positive outlook for the bank.
The Mamponhene Dasibro Sebunsu, who was a guest of honor, commended the National Investment Bank for consolidating its foothold in the Ghanaian banking industry, who hoped that the Mampong branch would become one of the best performing branches in Ghana.
On the interbank markets, the pound traded at 4 cedis 43 pesos, the dollar traded at 3 cedis 83 pesos, and the euro also traded at 4 cedis 33 pesos. Up next is the board. On the commodities market, light crude dipped at $1.06 to trade at $39.30 per barrel. However, gold inched up by $6.20 to trade at $1,239.30 an ounce. Gold also gained $7 to trade at $2,948 per ton. This segment was brought to you by Airtel and Ernest Chemist. Next is insurance news. Holders of insurance policies such as travel insurance who never experienced eventualities cannot apply for their premiums to be paid to them. According to Mr. Cecil Ribeiro, the Deputy Managing Director of Quality Assurance, the scenario occurs due to inadequate education of the details of insurance. He stressed that once paid, premiums are not refundable.
It's because of the way insurance works. Insurance is a pool. We expect a lot of premiums, knowing that it's very few people out of the pool who would claim. So let me give you an example. If we have 100 clients, all paying 1 cedi, we get $100. However, one client out of the 100 can wipe out the whole $100. That is why insurance is a game of numbers. And so that is why when you take insurance and you go out and nothing happens, you don't make a claim, there's no way you can come back for your premium. It is not possible in insurance.
The insurance news was brought to you by SIC Live. We have more news coming up. Please do stay.
And this is the health segment of the news. My name is Michelin Taka. So first story, the loss of a life to AIDS does not only affect families and dependents, but saddles businesses with huge cost as a result of a loss of skills and experience. As the well of funds from donors run dry, the Ghana AIDS Commission is reaching out to the private sector to raise funds to get at least 6.5 million people tested for HIV this year. A report by Sarah Fori.
Ahead of the global agenda to end AIDS by 2030, the Ghana AIDS Commission
is fast-tracking its efforts to achieve the 90-90-90 target by 2020. However, with the increasing demand for HIV prevention, treatment and support services, coupled with donor fatigue, the Ghana AIDS Commission has had to turn to the private sector to mobilize resources to enable it to meet its target within stipulated time. Meanwhile, between now and 2020, the Commission faces a funding gap of close to $213 million.
Testing is the entry point to prevention and treatment. When people know their status, they become empowered, irrespective of what that status is. When a person is negative, believe you me, they do everything positive to stay negative. When somebody is positive, with the right counseling, they are empowered to receive treatment, to receive care, to suppress the virus, to remain healthy. If we're able to achieve these targets in the next 5 years, then it will make economic sense, it will become affordable, and it will, the target of eliminating AIDS by 2030 will become achievable.
The Minister of State in charge of the private sector, Mr. Rashid Pelpo, said Ghana's workforce is at risk if the private sector stands aloof. He assured the private sector of tax rebates when they contribute towards national development.
We mustn't give the impression that we can only work if there is some external support, and that we don't care and will not care for ourselves as long as there is no external support. We can do it in Ghana, and I believe in our private sector, I believe in our individual contributions, and I believe that we can cover the mileage.
The Ghana AIDS Commission has begun a rigorous appeal for funds to get at least 6.5 million people tested for HIV this year. This is in line with achieving the first of its set targets of 90% of persons living with the disease knowing their status by 2020. The managing director of Stanbic, Mr. Alhassan Andani, therefore entreated the industry and corporate bodies to lend a hand.
We have seen the example of what HIV did to companies. Companies literally folded up because most of their critical resources were gone, were lost to it. Their families were disrupted and couldn't actually respond to work. So it's not because their products and services were not selling, it's not because there was anything wrong with their business model, but because the most important resource who's supposed to come to work is not there. They're all dying to HIV. So when private sector people support Ghana AIDS Commission and other epidemic issues, it's not for anything. It's in our own private interest, our own interest to ensure that we protect the people who come to work for us.
The Ghana National Petroleum Company, GNPC, has been the highest donor of $2 million, followed by GWEL and UT Care Foundation of 20,000 and 10,000 cedis, respectively. The third forum with the private sector closed with several untapped options to mobilize resources being suggested. Sarah Furi, GBC24, Accra.
The Ministry of Health has started a process to engage registered and retired midwives to check the shortfalls at health facilities nationwide. The Minister for Health, Mr. Alex Segbefia, disclosed this at a May-Day quarterly National Council meeting of the National Association of Registered Midwives in Accra. Mr. Segbefia admitted that midwives save lives and must be empowered.
The National Association of Registered Midwives, Ghana, was initially under the Ghana Registered Nurses Association. The breakaway became necessary because the registered midwives believed their needs, concerns, plight and interest were not properly catered for under the main association. A critical issue that ran through discussions at the forum was the inadequate number of midwives at health facilities. The situation puts pressure on the few in active service, making it possible for them to give of their best. Mr. Segbefia was of the view that engaging retired midwives may not be the best solution. He rather called on nursing colleges of education to train more midwives.
We want to increase or upgrade the numbers that we have for midwife training. So we have to look at each school, look at the geography, and begin to increase the number of midwifery schools so that we can churn out more, because we are actually, one, measured by them, and two, we will save a lot more wives if we have a lot more with midwives.
The national president of the Association of Registered Midwives, Redwana Hawa Mwakweje, was optimistic that the retired midwives will give off their best.
Because of this association, we have worked in collaboration with the Ministry of Health, and we have instituted a BSc midwifery program at KNUST. And then I think the first 2 batches have even come out as first degree holders in midwifery. It is being done at UDS and then UCC, Cape Coast. We also collaborated with the same Ministry of Health, and then we initiated BEd, that is a bachelor education program for midwives, diploma midwives, and they have come out as midwifery tutors. They have been sent to all the various midwifery and nursing training schools across the country. So the association is also doing well, and then we are working hard to maintain midwifery as a profession of its own.
Discussants entreated expectant mothers and the general public to acknowledge the role of male midwives and stop stigmatizing them because they are equally trained professionals.
On the segment, Abner, we're going for a break. Up next will be foreign news.
Thanks for staying on. In international news, over 200 people were killed and over 100 children abducted by armed men from South Sudan in a cross-border raid into Ethiopia. Ethiopian officials blame Mali tribesmen from South Sudan for a series of deadly attacks on Ethiopian villages in the western Gambela region on Friday. The Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Haile Mariam Desalegn, in a statement on state television on Sunday evening, confirmed the incident. Haile Mariam said that mothers and children were among the dead and that the raiders also abducted 102 children. The Foreign Ministry said over 2,000 livestock were also stolen. The Mali, a tribe from South Sudan based in the eastern Jonglei region close to the Ethiopian border, often stage raids to steal cattle and abduct children, but rarely on such a large scale.
Niger's opposition coalition, COPA 2016, has decided to end a boycott of Parliament and the National Electoral Commission. The boycott was called over a 2-round presidential election in February and March, in which opposition candidate Hama Amadou was forced to campaign from behind bars after being jailed in November on baby trafficking charges he denounced as a ploy. Incumbent President Mahamudu Isufu was returned to power with 92.51% of the vote in the second round on the 20th of March, while Amadou was given 7.49%, despite the opposition's boycott of the electoral process.
They expect a return of South Sudan's rebel leader Riek Machar to the capital, Juba, has been postponed for logistical reasons. A spokesman has said he was due to take up the post of first vice president, a key part of the peace process aimed at ending more than 2 years of civil war. Mr. Machar fled Juba at the start of the conflict in December 2013. More than 2 million people have been displaced and tens of thousands killed in the fighting. Rebel spokesman William Ezekiel told journalists waiting for Mr. Machar at Juba's airport that the trip had been postponed until Tuesday. He said that the rebels were still committed to the peace process. And that's it for the National News. Sports is next.
Good evening. Let's update ourselves from happenings in the world of sports. I'm Theophilus Sampa. The National Women's Football League got off to a blistering start with Ampem Dakwa ladies thumping Saboyo ladies by 7-1. Black Queen striker Priscilla Dubia made history, being the first lady to score 6 goals in a single game. Elsewhere, defending champions Hazakes ladies also recorded a 4-0 over lady strikers. Here's a summary of match day 1 action.
24 goals were recorded on match day 1 in the ongoing National Women's Football League. Police ladies welcomed the soccer intellectuals at the police park here in Accra. The encounter was one of the 8 matches played to kick-start the season. It was a ding-dong affair from the first whistle as both teams tried to secure an early advantage. The encounter, however, ended 0-0. Coaches of the two sides shared their experience.
I'm satisfied with the performance, but I'm not happy I drew because it was a very nice game. We were on top of the game, but just that we were not lucky to get the 3 maximum points.
We came in for draw. Looking at the challenges on hand, some of our girls, I'm telling you honestly, we have to bench them. And looking at the strength of police, coming with such players, you are bound to lose. So tactically, before the match, our strategies and tactics is to play draw. That's why they are jubilating for that. And it's the first time to taking a draw from this field.
The deputy captain of soccer intellectuals, Sarah Bonny, said she was happy with the results.
We did what we came here to do. Actually, we came in for draw. Our technical mentor is to come in for draw. So purposely, we came here for draw. And God has been on our side too. We've drawn. So we are happy. We're happy about the scoreline.
Here are results of other matches played. In the Northern Zone, Ampem Dakwa 7, Subayo Golden Ladies 1. Lepo Ladies 1, Prisons Ladies 2. Real Lapa Ladies 1, Ashtown 2. Northern Ladies 1, Fabulous 0. For the Southern Zone, defending champions Zakes Ladies 4, Ladies Strikers 0. Police Ladies 0, Soccer Intellectuals 0. Halifax 1, Immigration 2. Bafana Ladies 1, Samaria Ladies 1. The league continues next weekend at the various league centers.
Mr. K is the winner of the White Sand race meeting. Mr. K finished the race in a time of 2 minutes 14 seconds to beat Sly Mongoose and Hajia for the title. The win is the 5th for Mr. K since horse racing resumed in the country. The Accra Turf Club's maiden White Sand race meeting was full of thrills at the racecourse with 4 races in Division 4C, 4A, 3B and novices. 21 horses were in action. The day began with horses in Division 4C setting the tone for the event. Let Them Say, Rule of Law, Young Man and Omoniuli were in action. They battled a distance of 6 furlongs. In just 2 minutes 12 seconds, Rule of Law completed the race. He was followed by Young Man and Let Them Say. Next was horses in Division 4A. Copter, Yobibio, Fresh Boy, Who Is Free were in contention. Fresh Boy with Chucky J. Mensah, Race Pass Who Is Free and Copter covering a distance of 5 furlongs in a time of 1 minute and 34 seconds. The invitational race, the main event of the day, was for horses in Division 3B category. Horses Hajia, Mr. K, Sly Mongoose, Mary Cruz, High Rise and Sea Never Dry were in action. It was Mr. K, Hajia and Sly Mongoose who had a good start, but Mr. K, ridden by Chucky Joseph Lamte, who is on record for winning 4 races since the resumption of the race, including the Easter Egg Cup, covered the 1,400 meter stretch with a time of 2 minutes and 14 seconds to carry the day. Sly Mongoose and Hajia finished 2nd and 3rd. Horses in their maiden appearance on the course were given the opportunity in the novices race. They were Diplomatic Lady, Lady Secret, Sugar, Seabird, Shatter and Superior Lady. At the end, Seabird beat Diplomatic Lady and Shatter to the crown. The competition continues next weekend at the same venue. Tawala Babies FC have won this year's Oblogo Tetegu Soccer Gala. They beat Wija 11 FC by a goal to nil and took away undisclosed amounts of cash, souvenirs, medals and trophy. There we go. The second edition of the annual Oblogo Tetegu Gala competition took place at the Oblogo Town Park. 6 teams, namely Hydrogen, Tel Aviv, Chicago, Tawala Babies FC, Young Stars, and Wager 11 participated. The finals was a clash between Tawala Babies FC in the black and gold jersey and Wager 11. The gala was on the theme Transforming Lives Through Football. The event attracted some high-profile personalities, including the chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Youth and Sport, Mr. Kobna Weyome, Hearts of Folk and Black Stars legend Mohamed Ahmed Polo, and the organizer, the assembly member for the Oblogo Tetegu electoral area, Beatrice Ifua Santiwai Jekum, among others. The final was a thrilling one as Tawala Babies FC striker Mohamed Polo scored just after 1 minute. Wager tried but could not equalize. Some good goalkeeping artistry was exhibited by the two goalkeepers to save their sides. At the end, Tawala FC won. All 6 teams were presented with cash prizes and souvenirs. There was a special prize for the best goalkeeper, best player, best coach, and the goal king. The organizer, the assembly member for the Oblogo Tetegu electoral area, Beatrice Ifua Santiwai Jekum, was impressed with the skills displayed.
I've been so excited, even though I was supposed to play with 4 teams from my both electoral areas. But I want to thank the Wager team for coming together with us and playing this match. I want to encourage all of you to keep on doing your best. I know at the end of the day we'll get good players from this electoral area. 2017, that will be the 3rd edition for the gala competition. 2017, I'll be coming back again to organize the football gala.
Organizers say the best players identified will receive extra support in any form to further the ambitions of becoming future stars. And let's wrap it up by bringing you an update from happenings in the English Premier League played at the weekend. Liverpool and Co. recorded wins. Let's go and bring you some highlights. That's all for sports.
In the arts segment, the Minister for Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Mrs. Elizabeth Efusui-Jari, has shared Ghana's tourism experience with students in the leadership of the New York University Teach Center for Hospitality and Tourism in New York.
A major objective of the Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts Ministry is to promote the tourism sector in the country. In line with this objective, the Minister for Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Mrs. Elizabeth Efusui-Jari, said Ghana has a rich culture and attractive tourist sites. She was speaking at the Faculty of Hospitality and Tourism in the UK.
What government has done now is to get a visibility of where we are now, so that anybody who is interested in partnering Ghana in respect of podcasts will know what we have in terms of assets, in terms of resources, and then the person who is interested can come on board. We have good weather 360